What is LID? LID stands for Low Impact Development. It's a set of distributed stormwater practices that deals with polluted stormwater runoff at the source, where the rain hits the ground, be that the driveways, the rooftops, or any of the other hard surfaces, roadways that we create as a way of living here. Low impact development helps minimize those impacts on our receiving water bodies. This is an exciting time in the low impact development green infrastructure field. There's been a lot of projects and work put in the ground across the country. Some started 20 years ago in Maryland. Seattle started putting projects in the ground 15 years ago. There's a lot of science and data all over the country, actually all over the world, on different bioretention elements and green infrastructure elements, low impact development tools. And so Washington's at a really exciting point of expanding what the science tells us to implementing at a really large scale and getting these tools in the ground. There's the site development parts of the strategy where you design so that you use the natural features, like the vegetation that was there before you're putting the development in, so that you also direct stormwater runoff onto the natural features to follow contours. Just smart site design, minimizing the amount of impervious surface that you're placing as part of a parking lot. Those are all kind of the site development types of low impact development. Then there's dealing with the runoff that still occurs from the site. And there's a whole suite of best management practices that are called low impact development. Those include bioretention, rain gardens, permeable pavement, green roofs, cisterns, rainwater harvesting. There's a whole lot of tools. They keep growing and changing and getting more advanced and new ideas. But there's a lot of different strategies that can be used on a site to capture the stormwater and slow it down on the site, so it doesn't have as much of a downstream impact. As an elected official, you should care about low impact development because it's one of the best strategies for dealing with stormwater, and stormwater is one of the leading threats of the degradation of our receiving water bodies, the Puget Sound, our big rivers, all the local creeks in between. So as those natural features that we all are connected to become more and more impacted, that makes for a less livable community. And we all want to live in a lovely place, and so part of our job is to help protect the environment that we're living in. There can be some great advantages of using low impact development instead of traditional approaches to stormwater management. If you think about starting a development from scratch, if you're using vegetated conveyance, basically wider, flatter ditches, you're saving a whole lot of cost of piping. And when you're saving that cost, you're also having a green space, and you're also slowing the water down and cleaning it as it moves to maybe where a rain garden is or a bigger bioretention system. So you're getting the advantages of slowing, and it's also lower cost. So from a development standpoint, you can design sites with low impact development strategies cheaper than you can design a site with traditional strategies. It takes more creativity, and it takes a lot of work from the city departments to review their codes and policies to allow for it, because a lot of our developments were set up, our development policies were set up in an era where we wanted to get the water away as quickly as possible and didn't really think about what that impact was on the downstream environment. And so reviewing our codes to allow for that simple process of allowing the water to flow slowly down on the contour of the roadway or adjacent to the roadway is a great practice. So one of the great values of using low impact development is that you can meet your stormwater goals while also increasing the livability of a neighborhood. So you have your green space combined with your stormwater management, which can save a developer money because they may have vegetation requirements or green space requirements, and you can use the low impact development strategies like bioretention or green roofs to sometimes meet those requirements. Low impact development provides a fair number of opportunities. On the developer side, there's this great opportunity to meet multiple requirements with one set of tools, be it your landscape requirements at the same time as your stormwater requirements, so there's cost savings. There's also a lot of sustainability elements that have been shown to increase property values. So a lot of developers like using low impact development techniques, because you have to spend money on stormwater management, you might as well spend it on a way that also creates aesthetic amenities. One of the other great opportunities of low impact development relates to community engagement. There's a lot of our public who wants to help. They see the problems with our water bodies. They know from all the messaging that there's impacts coming from climate, that we're already in trouble with the quality in our receiving water bodies and the impacts that it's having on all the bugs and fish and whales that live there. And so people want to do something. And low impact development is an approach that can actually really engage and empower your community to help. It could be as simple as installing a rain garden on your property, to collaborating with other property owners along a block and doing bigger projects in the right-of-way. But it's in that doable, manageable size of an impact, and so it really gets a lot of advocacy and community building that can happen. So one of the main things a policymaker might want to keep on their radar as they look into these low impact development, changing the codes and policies. One, there's a fair amount of work by staff, so we have to allocate that time and the budget for that to review our codes and our policies to make low impact development a preferred approach. There's a surprising number of places deep down into our rules and regulations that need to get updated, and so there's that allocation of resources, and then there's the long-term impacts of stewarding all of those assets that we're putting into the ground. So either operations and maintenance and physically maintaining them, or inspecting and making sure that other people are doing that maintenance. And so it's not just a one and done, it's a long path, and it will take multiple cycles of updates to really get at all the pieces. I think we're set up as a state to really lead the country in low impact development approaches, and we are doing a phenomenal job of leading the country. And I think it's an exciting time for all of us to be proud that we're embracing on this new permit requirement and really putting great effort into making low impact development the commonly used approach for stormwater management. It's the way the scientists have directed us, and now it's our time to do the work to make it happen.